Hello my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious or you're lost. I'm Chatty and welcome to my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where I'm going to be chatting away madly about the 2 books book tag. I have my tag of tea ready to drink, but first things first, this is still techie problems. It's one shot, we're not editing this because we can't, so let's go for it. Apologies for the mentalness of hair. It is early morning. I'm hoping to film this before my children wake up. Tried to do this last night. Bedtime wasn't going well. It didn't happen, but I'm hopeful we can do this right now. So firstly, thank you so much to Nathan from the Bookish Gnome for tagging me in this tag. Mouth is dry. Let's have a drink. Anyway. Cheers Nathan, I'm really excited to do this tag, finally getting around to filming, hooray! This is an original tag that has been created by Kelli from the channel Kelli Reads, and it is celebrating being on Booktube for 2 months. So there's a lot of 2s going on in here, linking to that 2 months. Now I am actually doubling that, so this is the 2 lots of 2 months. I've actually been on Booktube now for 4 months. Not sure when I'm going to post this, but I'm filming this mid-July and I started Booktube in mid-March, so we're doubling up, but I'm not going to double up on all the prompts. I'm going to try and keep this short and simple if possible. It's a challenge for me. But I will be linking both Nathan and Kelli's channels in the descriptions and their versions of this video, so you should definitely go and check them out and hear all their thoughts for these books and their book suggestions. So definitely go and check that out. And if you look at Kelli's, you also get to meet Hagrid as well. Hi Kelli and Hagrid, that's very exciting. Guess who loves reading books? So let's drink this tea. I'm going to pull out the first tag, and that is question 2. 2 books that are nostalgic to, oh there we go, I usually hold it up, don't I? 2 books that are nostalgic to you. Now with these answers I've tried to go for things that I have not already mentioned on my channel, because I did do a whole video about my own birthday party about my childhood favourites. So I've gone for some books I don't necessarily own anymore that I do have a lot of nostalgic feeling to. So this is a Yoto card, and I bought this for my son. It is Enid Blyton's The Mystery of the Burnt Cottage. So a series of books I find incredibly nostalgic are Enid Blyton books. I grew up basically living off all of her works, in particular the 5 Find Outer series, and this is the first one. So I don't have the books. I think my mum still has the entire Enid Blyton collection at home, which is a mixture of my books and her books from her childhood as well. So I've never felt the need to buy them because we can use hers. Plus, I don't think they've aged well. I think you need to read them with a pinch of salt now. But I thought it would be fun as a little audiobook for my son to read, because it's quite straightforward. It's a fun mystery. I just think the you know, children solving mysteries is always something that's just going to appeal to everyone. And here we have Mr. Goon, the inept policeman here, as they go and solve the mystery of the burnt cottage. Secret societies was definitely something that really appealed to me as a child, and myself and my cousin, we both read all these books together. And when we met up as a family, we would go off, we would find some place to be our den or clubhouse, and then we would search for clues. So literally we'd be finding rubbish and going, oh, there's going to be a clue, let's take it, and trying to solve a non-existent mystery. But it kept us entertained for quite a while. The other series is the Adventures, like the Adventure series, so that's like the Valley of Adventure, Castle of Adventure, Sea of Adventure. I loved all of those books as well. They were so exciting. I really enjoyed the 4 characters. So that was 2 sets of siblings. So there was Lucian and Jack, and then there was Dinah and Philip. And Jack had a parrot called Kiki, who I used to find hilarious. I love that Philip could befriend all the animals, and I found them really exciting. And I have lots of memories of borrowing my cousin's cassette of the Sea of Adventure when we were going on holiday together and listening to it. And I think she borrowed our Secret 7 or something tape, and we'd like swapped over. I just found them really exciting, and it makes me think a lot of those family holidays and playing with my cousin. So that's why they're very nostalgic to me. The second book that are nostalgic to me is Shirley Hughes. So here I have Alfie Gets In First and Alfie's Feet. So there's a whole collection of Alfie books, also the Lucy and Tom books as well. These are incredibly nostalgic, and I have bought all of these. I bought this whole set for my children. The stories I just love the drawings. It's just so, the drawings feel nostalgic. They're just so like family life comforts. It's just from them all the time. Look, like just been in muddy puddles and you're just warming your feet in front of the fire, and it's just so heartwarming and simple and cozy. And it's been so lovely reading these with my children. One of our favourites was when they've come back in from the shopping and Alfie's got a pair of new boots, so he's proudly stomping in to show them, and my children love that, unbeknownst to mum and dad, who are doing the classic mum and dad thing, sit down and have a cup of tea. Relate. Annie Rose has found the shopping, and she is slowly emptying all the shopping out of the basket. And then this is their favourite bit on the next page. Whilst Alfie is proudly going off to the park with Dad, Annie Rose managed to find the biscuits and open them. Because she's a genius child. So yeah, I absolutely love I love Shirley Hughes illustrations. They are just so beautiful, and they absolutely evoke childhood. Like, it doesn't matter like that the pictures are very like 1970s or anything like that. It's all of the things they're doing is so relatable as children. You know, they're in the mud, they're, you know, giving like little stones or sticks like personalities and getting really attached to them. You know, things like going to school or having to go to a birthday party without your parents for the first time is daunting. It's all things that are just so universal to children, like that everyone can relate to that. And the series Lucy and Tom, very similar to Alfie and Annie Rose. There's a Lucy and Tom's Christmas, and I have to read, even if I'm just reading to myself, I have to read Lucy and Tom's Christmas at Christmas time, because it makes me feel Christmassy, because that whole book about all the different things they do at Christmas time is just like, yes, that's Christmas to me. So these are a couple of my favourites. This is my youngest, my little dormouse. We can't call it Alfie's Feet, it's Alfie's Boots. And if you call it Alfie's Feet, he shouts at you and says, no, it's Alfie's Boots. And this is, for a long time, this was the only book we could read to him. He wouldn't accept any other Alfie book or any other book. It was Alfie's Boots we had to read. I also really love this one, Alfie Gets In First. I have very fond memories of my aunt reading this to me and her grandchildren, with interesting generational gaps in our family. I'm actually the same. Even though my generation is of, I'm the same age as my second cousins instead of my cousins. My cousins is like my mum's age. So my cousins' children I kind of grew up with as well. And the oldest is a boy and the youngest is a girl. So my aunt used to change their names, and instead of Alfie and Annie Rose, she used their names. And they all live in London. So her house is quite similar looking to these houses, these terrace houses here with the bay window. So I really enjoyed that she changed their names, because I felt it could have been true. But I really love this. So Alfie gets in first and he shuts the door, but there's a latch key and the key is here, and unfortunately Mum and Annie Rose are stuck on the other side. And I love this whole layout of everything that's happening on this page. So here we can see their neighbour, Mrs. McNally, across the street, sees what's going on, and then she comes over to see. And then you've got all of this action here, and we see what Alfie's doing whilst they're talking through the keyhole. And each page we seem to get more and more people trying to help Alfie through the door. And I just really love that story. It's a really kind of simple story, but it's just so much fun, and I love Shelley Hughes' drawings. I think they're gorgeous and beautiful. Next tag. This one is, ooh, this is actually question 5, and this is 2 hype books you'll probably read. So this is the only one where I've doubled the 2, just because of the probably in the question. So I don't know necessarily if this is what Kelly was going for, but this is how I've interpreted the question. So I have some books that I'll definitely read, and some books that I'll probably read, and an adult's book and a children's book for each one. So the book that I will definitely read for an adult book is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. So excited for this book. Still haven't read it yet, but I'm absolutely definitely reading it this year. 1, it's on my Chatties Challenge list, and 2, I've had this for a year and I feel like I've anticipated it long enough. The time has come for me to read it, and I feel that this is really going to work for me. I feel like I'm absolutely going to love this book, and I can't wait. So I will definitely be reading this one because I really, really want to, and I own it. So the chances are very, very high. The adult book that I'll probably read is one that I'd say it is hyped, but I think it's almost like starting to turn into like a modern classic in how it's hyped, and that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. So I'm slightly anxious isn't the right word, but apprehensive, I think, about this one, just because there's 2 books in this series but not a third, which is frustrating, and I feel this has been going on for a while. Also, it's a book where lots of people really, really love it, and then other ones I think have found it a little on the dense side. So I think it's one that you need to concentrate to read. I think it's not necessarily got a linear story. I think it's someone telling their tale, and I think there could be dual timelines. I don't really know, and as always I don't like to sort of find too much detail out before reading these books. But the reason I will probably read this is because I kind of have like a book bet deal going on with Brett, who is my I think buddy read companion / adversary, not buddy read, readathon companion / adversary, and we read The Shadows of What Was Lost last year, and we were going to read, we had a buddy read going on Shelf Space, that we were then going to read An Echo of Things to Come and The Light of All That Falls, and he did not read An Echo of Things to Come because he got bogged down by other books and he never picked it up, and then it became too late because there was a too big a gap between Shadow, and you can't leave a big gap between Shadow in that series. So the deal is, he reads An Echo of Things to Come, the second book in the Lycanius trilogy. I will read The Name of the Wind, because that's one of his favourite books. So that's our deal. So that will happen. That I feel it's very probable that I will read this book at some point, because I really want him to read An Echo of Things to Come. So that's that one. The child version is the book that I will definitely read. A hyped book I would definitely read is Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. So this is very much hyped on my corner of Booktube. Look at the sparkly edges. So my little Booktube corner that I dwell in, it is predominantly lots of fantasy readers. I do gravitate toward them because those are the books that I love. And if anyone reads middle grade, I tend to gravitate towards them as well because I love middle grade. And anyone who reads middle grade and fantasy, regardless if they don't necessarily read middle grade, they do tend to want to read this book. So this has got a lot of hype from that sense of things. But if you go on Goodreads in terms of like really hyped books, so I'm talking like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, ACOTAR, The Love Hypothesis, you know, they are in the hundreds of thousands of people who have rated the books. That's how many people were reading them who do ratings on Goodreads. This one's only 15,000. So in the grand scale of things, this should be more hyped. This book should be, I haven't read it, but I feel it deserves more hype. And I feel that I'm absolutely going to love it, and I cannot wait. And the second book is coming out in September. So I do really, really, really want to read this, and then I'll probably jump straight into the second one. And I'm really excited. And it's one of those that I'm kind of holding off because I'm anticipating it so much. And the book that's a probably read, because I don't own it, is I'm making sure I've got the title right, Other Words for Home by Jasmine Waga. And I have heard, again, it's not massively hyped. I think it was 24,000 ratings on Goodreads. But it's kind of hyped from people I know who read middle grade. So people who have read this have loved it and said it's absolutely amazing. I have a feeling it could have been on the Goodreads Choice Awards for the middle grade, but I'm not entirely sure. But I know I've actually had a few chats with people, and we've been talking about novels in verse, and this is one that's come up that people have really recommended and said it's brilliant. So it follows the story of a girl who has who's a refugee, has come to settle in another country, and it's sort of like her settling, thinking about her home, and it's a novel in verse, which is something that I am very excited by. So yes, I will probably read that one because I really, really want to. It's on my wish list, but I don't currently own it, and I'm trying not to buy books at the moment, and I don't think my library have it, so it could be tricky to get hold of, but we'll see. So that's why it said probably. That one's done. Next tag. So the next tag from the tea is 2 books you have read recently. So it's mid-July. I'm getting a huge amount of reading done this month. I feel it's my slacking off month. There's a lot of life stuff going on at the moment, which kind of eats into the reading time. So I'm not gonna get bogged down by it. I would like to be reading more, but hey ho, the books are still there. But one I have read is Ink Death by Cornelia Funke. And this is the 3rd book in the Ink World trilogy. This is marketed as middle grade, but I feel is YA. So the first one, yes. The second 2, it doesn't feel middle grade. It's very dark and somber and a bit melancholy in this fantasy world. And in the second 2, I think it's not just Maggie, this sort of older child, young teenager. I think she's around about 12, 13, 14 in these books. It's not just her you're following, but you're also kind of following her dad. So you've also got kind of like an adult protagonist in here that you start following after a while as well. So it kind of leans more towards a YA because it gets dark. Like, there's dark stuff in here, really dark stuff. But yes, I read it recently. It was a reread, but I could not remember. There's so much of this book I could not remember. I'd only read it once because I wasn't buying books, and I saw it in the library and it had come out, but I wasn't kind of at that point able to buy books for myself. So I was very excited to pick it up then. Read it, loved it. I enjoyed it this time. I don't think I loved it as much as when I read it previously, but I do enjoy Inkworld. I do enjoy the concept of this, but I think Inkheart has just got such a special place in my heart. I think it takes a lot to kind of beat that feeling from Inkheart. But I like where they went with the story. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed how everything went down. There does feel room for like extra bits to kind of happen within the Ink world. But I think she has kind of like definitely finished with it. But there's an open end should she wish to kind of dip back in. So yes, I've recently read Ink Death, which you sure will be delighted to hear. I was supposed to be buddy reading it, and that was in April, and it's now July, so it took me a while. Where am I putting you? Putting you there. So yeah, like I said, like I've read, so it's taken me a long time to read Ink Death. It's taken me a long time to like start reading books this month. I think I read 2 quite quickly, and then I've kind of like been in the middle of several and so really haven't finished them. It's very slow going this month. So the other book that I want to talk about that I've read recently is one that I've been reading with my son, and that is Cookie by Connie Huck. So here's Connie Huck. If you are from the UK and know Blue Peter, I remember her from my generation of Blue Peter watching as one of the presenters. I really enjoyed watching Connie Huck. I thought she was really cool. Anyway, this is a children's, it's a middle grade contemporary. I think it's kind of in the 5 to 8 range, but I think will definitely be enjoyed by older children. It's one of those books where you've got this really enjoyable protagonist who enjoys sketching, who's got a very quirky sense of humour, and likes jokes. She also really likes science. So I'm just going to do a couple of examples here. So this is the like text to drawing ratio in this book. I did say it was like 5 to 8. I think it's not necessarily one that lots of adults would necessarily gravitate towards who read middle grade, but actually there's quite a lot of text on this page than I was expecting, so it could be 9 to 12. Who knows? Actually, I don't know about this one. Anyway, moving on quickly. So like she'll like kind of go off on tangents and then have little drawings that accompany them. So I'm trying to find where this was. There we go. So rice is pretty much the staple diet in our house. Not on its own, but with different curries, which means there's lots of variety. Imagine having the same food every day. Life would be so boring. I always think that when I see sheep eating grass in the fields along the motorway. And here we have the sheep. What would you like, sir? Have you anything other than grass? No. Yum. So just little things like that just throughout it. You might think sheep are dumb to care about food. Wrong. Apparently they're really intelligent and can recognise a face for up to 2 years. Not just one face, but 50. Not even humans can do that. My mum can barely recognise mine. She calls me by my sister's name half the time. Hi, I think we met at Dave's barbecue 2 years ago. Yes, probably. I forget. So sorry. Terrible with faces. There's all that stuff through here. So this is Cookie and the Most Annoying Boy in the World. So she's at school. Her best friend Kezia is due to be leaving, which she is devastated about. She also really wants a pet, which her parents don't get for her. She's got her eyes set on a cat. She goes and visits this cat in the pet shop, and then it's bought by someone else, and that someone else has moved in next door and is her new neighbour, and therefore she's like, you stole my cat. And they did not get off to a good start because of that. But they end up having to work together for one thing or another, and they start to kind of like learn more about each other. There's a science fair, and whoever wins at the science fair is going to have the chance to represent their school on Cookie's favourite quiz show, Brainbusters. So she is absolutely desperate to win the science fair and get on Brainbusters. What I really like about this book as well is there is a lot of when something unfortunate happens, Cookie doesn't kind of like become devastated by it. She uses her humour, and she's quite resilient to it. So my eldest, my Mad March Hare, he doesn't always like it when characters are going to be in an embarrassing situation or do something that might get them in trouble. That's what he gets a bit anxious about. Monsters and things like that, totally fine with, but like social situations make him feel anxious. Doesn't want anyone to get in trouble. So when Cookie has got in trouble or certain stuff has happened, I wasn't sure how he was going to react to the book. But because Cookie's so resilient, he just kind of went along with it, thought it was really funny and enjoyed it. So that was really good. So a couple more silly comments on here. She's got her mum being compared with someone else's mum. Dinner's ready. If you don't like it, we can always order takeout. So that's what Susie's mum would do. Classic parenting. I will offer you a variety of dishes so you eat something. And then my mum, dinner's ready, lick the plate clean. Two very different parenting styles right there. I'd like to think I'm somewhere in the middle. And what are you reading today? Are you still reading the internet? Still? Yeah, it's taking a really long time. So yeah, that's the kind of humour for this type of book. So I really enjoyed reading this with him. It's something that light-hearted. If he then said he wasn't interested in this book and I saw the other books in the library, I probably would pick them up as a nice little palette cleanser. But he really enjoyed this, so we're going to be reading the rest of the series. I think there's 2 more out. I can't remember their name. I think one could be Cookie and the Most Annoying Girl in the World. But yes, these 2, lots of fun. The next tag is 2 books that you read for school that you would like to read again. This is the one that I struggle with. I wish that I had the reading list that both Kelly and Nathan had, because the books that they would probably reread sounded really interesting. Whereas I don't know if it's like I can't remember the books I read at school, or if we just did not have a great range. We read Great Expectations, which I have no desire to read again. Once was enough. The ones I'm more likely to read again are kind of the poetry collections and the plays, because I feel, you know, it's very easy to kind of dip in and out of poetry, and you're more likely to kind of get something different from it. And plays, I really enjoy creating theatre, so again, there's always something different you can do with a play script. So I enjoy Shakespeare, so I could look at those again quite easily. I did actually reread a poetry collection, Meantime, by Carol Ann Duffy. I've still got that with me. And I did reread The Duchess of Malfi. Can't remember who wrote that play. Someone male around the time of Shakespeare who wasn't Shakespeare. But they play very, like, a lot of violent death in their plays. Anyway, yeah, I reread that one because I really enjoyed the language, and ended up doing the play, which was lots of fun, and I'd kind of wanted to do that ever since we read it in my English literature class. But in terms of like novels, there wasn't really any that I'd reread. Like, I remember my friends absolutely loving To Kill a Mockingbird. We never read that book. I think my brother read that book as well. That was his text. We didn't read that. We had Animal Farm. So yeah, I suppose the ones that I would probably pick if I had to were the two George Orwell books. It's not like, at the time, like, this was really me being pushed out of my comfort zone. Reading 1984 at, how old was I? 15, 16? Was a massive challenge for me, because I did not read books unless they had happy endings. That's very much how I was. And yeah, that don't have happy endings. I appreciate what he did with the story, and I think I did a really good job of critiquing it, considering how much I did not enjoy it. So in terms of like being much better with reading stories that don't have happy endings now, then maybe I'd have a different opinion on it. But I think even at that time I was able to appreciate the point he was putting across, even if I didn't enjoy the story. So I don't think I'd necessarily get any more out of it now. Animal Farm, it was the school play for that year, and I was studying in my GCSE. We were doing the Russian Revolution. So, you know, I knew all about Lenin and Stalin, and could see how it was an allegory. And so I don't think I could actually get anything more than what I'm doing then, because Animal Farm, like, I knew that through and through, like in every possible area of my life, this was being studied on all levels. So it kind of worked really well for me in that way. But I don't particularly find it enjoyable, and but it's a really small book, so there we go. I would reread Animal Farm in 1984 if I had to, but it's no plans to read those. So what's the next tag in the tea? It is question 4. Oh, it's the final question. So 2 books that you have wanted to read. There's so many. I found this really hard to think about. So I decided to go with a book that I came across a lot when I first started watching Booktube. So I started watching Booktube in 2020, so I'm still quite new to the whole concept of Booktube. But a book that was kind of definitely going the rounds at that time, it's sort of like summer to autumn, was like a recent release that everyone was anticipating, and then when it came out everyone loved, and that was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So this book was one of the first books that I bought for myself in 2021, when I knew that I was going to be gifting myself books and I was going to be earning books by being healthy, and it went under my bed. And I've only recently got it out, so it's actually been sat under my bed for a really long time, because it's beautiful and I love these end pages here, and I love that beautiful golden tree foiled on the hardcover under the dust jacket. And actually I'm currently I've picked this up. There's a read along going on MJ's channel. Perfect time to pick it up, so I earned it. I've got it out now. But yeah, I'd been wanting to read it since it started on Booktube. Then with my little Schwab blip, I was a little bit nervous, but I picked it up and reading it with MJ and enjoying all the chats around it. So you will see what I think of it in my July wrap up. So yes, that was one of the ones that I wanted to read. The second one I don't have, because I've then gone for what book has been catching my eye and do I want to read since I have been filming Booktube videos and creating my own content. And this again is another book that's been released, so it's another new release, so it's released this year 2022, and I've been hearing such a lot just again from like my small corner, just from a few people, but it's really caught my eye and I want to read, and that is I wrote it down here. That is Black Cake by, oh no, I didn't write it down here. Where did I write it with my tag? Lost the tag. Where did I put the tag? Oh no, here's here. There we go. Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkinson. Charmaine Wilkinson. This is a multi-generational tale involving sort of like families coming together, exploring their heritage, two different siblings, I think, and having to come together and possibly work out their differences, and the enjoyment of the traditional family food, and have been quite nostalgic for this dish, black cake, which is from their Jamaican heritage. And oh my goodness, I have heard Lo from the channel, literally Lo, absolutely raving about this book and loving it so much. It was also one of the books for one of the teams that's a group read in Jessie from Bowties and Books in Blackathon. So quite a few people have been reading it from that. I know Gav from How to Train Your Gavin really loved it. So yes, that one has definitely caught my attention, and that is a book that I do want to read. Okay, those are all the tags. So that was the 5 questions done. And now we get to play Tag Your It. So, as this is a celebrating 2 months on Booktube book tag, I wanted to find some booktubers who have the opportunity to be able to celebrate their 2 months on Booktube. So I found both of these booktubers from MJ's channel. If you don't know who MJ is, she does a little Sunday video every week. Yeah, every Sunday she does a Celebrate Small Booktubers video where she'll highlight some booktubers, and it's just such a brilliant thing that encourages people to find out more about them and go and support their channel and help encourage them, and then they can like get more subscribers and continue to create more content, and then we all get to see it, and it's just a lovely giving. It's a lovely giving thing that happens in the Booktube community. So most of the people that I know who watch my channel also watch MJ's channel, and we're all kind of interconnected, so they probably know about these booktubers anyway. So I'm very much focusing this more on my shelf space friends. Go and check out these 2 booktubers. Go and give them some love. They are fantasy readers on here, so there we go. So the 2 people I want to tag to celebrate their 2 months are Tiffany from Towering TBR. So far I think she's been on here for 1 month. So Tiffany, you definitely can, if you want to. It'd be lovely to do this tag and have that out as a celebration of you being on Booktube for 2 months. I hope you are enjoying your time here. She reads a mix of fantasy and sci-fi. No, I'm reading my notes wrong. She reads a whole mixture of books. Like, she reads so many different things. I think the only thing she doesn't read is horror, which I can completely relate to. But she does, when she wants to kind of like escape life, which I totally agree with, she likes to throw herself into some sci-fi or some fantasy. She also reads a lot of non-fiction, which I think is really cool, because that is an kind of a book category I don't read as much. So I'd love to kind of get some more ideas of non-fiction reads from her. And she does a lot of audiobooks reading as well. So if you enjoy an audiobook or want to know about audiobooks, I think she's recently released a video about that, so you should go and check that out. She's also got a library tour and will be doing the Aurelian Magical Readathon, which is a video I haven't watched yet, but I am anticipating. So Tiffany, I'll be coming back to watch that. And the other booktuber is Max from Maxine's Little Nook. She reads a lot of YA fantasy, and she has got an unpopular opinion book tag. She's got some vlogs and some reviews, and I really enjoy her sort of like deadpan humour. It really works for me. I like your vibe. So she really wants to get more involved in sort of the booktube community and be talking about books, which again really relate to. And I think most of us on here, that is just one of our favourite things to do. We're on here because we want to chat about books. So I hope that she enjoys being pulled into the community and gets to chat to her heart's content. So yes, please go and check them out. And Maxine and Tiffany, feel free to do this tag. It's lots of fun. Would love to see it, but no pressure if tags aren't your thing, or you don't have the time, or you do it 6 months late, whatever. Just thought it'd be fun to tag you both. So yeah, I like your vibe. Go and check them out, and if you like it too, go and subscribe to them. So because I have actually been on here for 4 months, I thought, you know, that's double the 2 months. So let's double up on the people I'm tagging, and I want to tag another couple. And these are people who have been on here kind of as long as me. So these are people celebrating their 4 months on Booktube. And that is Tallia from Bandana Book Mum and Sid from Storytime with Sid. Just making sure I had your channel names right because my brain is not working. So these two booktubers, I really enjoy them a lot. I haven't watched their content recently as much as I have wanted to. But Tallia, Bandana Book Mum, she wears bandanas, she reads books, she reads children's books, she reads a whole range of different things. You should definitely go and check her out because she's so much fun. And Storytime with Sid, she hasn't posted recently because she's going through a lot of busy life stuff happening for her right now, but she has got a lot of content on there for you to go and look at. You know, she's got tags, she's got a library tour, she's got wrap-ups, and she is so much fun. She is predominantly a fantasy reader, and we have very, very similar tastes in books. Although I am excited to think I've actually got a different opinion of Addie than she has, which is good because she did not enjoy that book. So yes, go and check them out. So yes, tag, you are all it. Go and enjoy doing this tag. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I've really enjoyed doing this. Thanks again, Nathan, for tagging me, and Kelly for creating this. And happy reading, everybody.